everybody. Thanks for attending the live session. In this, like a kind of series, we will cover a kind of porting backdoor series. And today, for the part one, we will have a kind of we will cover porting backdoor for Windows, which is ready right now. And I will continue on this research in case showing support for this and you like the idea. Basically, we will cover in the part 2, we will porting that backdoor, which is kind of rootkit for Linux and Unix. And in part 3, we try to hide in kind of a process, finding a way to hide in your rootkit. And the other one, which is provision of techniques, we will see what we can attack or gain through the rootkit. So the purpose of this research is educational and is to understand how you can defend yourself against it. Please notice that rootkits requires privilege escalations or requires administrative access. So without administrative access, you can't get a permanent access into the system, or you can do that through the user mode, which is basically just a backdoor, not a rootkit. So rootkit means that you can have it as a net authority system or the high level. The attack of the rootkit like starts for example years ago in the XP and Windows 7, when Microsoft doesn't require a kind of requiring driver signing certificate for if you are going to develop a kind of kernel mode rootkit. Nowadays, if you are going to do a kind of kernel mode rootkit, you can't because you need a valid commercial certification by Microsoft. So I don't think so that you can. There's a kind of research to bypass that, but I don't think so that you can gain it as it is. So but also there's other ways that we can use it to gain the same thing. So first, let me tell you what we are going to do now. So first, as a rootkit definition, it's a kind of program of code that allows a permanent or consistent undetectable presence on the computer. So that's a current definition. If you would like to gain like these kind of things, you can refer to the site until to malware research and you can gain to this. And please notice that you need the registration to read the content. And yeah, we can start coding. As I told you, this is not live coding from scratch because I done this project before, but I wanna go through step by step to cover how we can do that. It's built in Pascal and free to drop it to C++ because it's like the same methodology. It's good in Pascal because what I'm going to do is I'm going to develop a RESTful API server that JSON API server that I will use it to sending malicious kind of malicious comment and get an execution pack. And you can do that through a hidden endpoint, and that endpoint will allow you to execute system command while the application is running on a specific port if someone visited just like normal site. So it's a kind of a service that's running on a specific port, and you can port it to any operating system, which becomes like massive. We're gonna use Lazarus for doing that. You can do that through Delphi also, but I will do that through Lazarus right now. So let's begin. I think I have to, yes. Okay, so creating a project through Lazarus is pretty simple. So the first thing that we are going to identify is the user's block. So let me uh, copy this from the research that I have done, and I will explain what I'm really going to do. I don't need this module, so I can. So right now, because our plan is to cover all operating system, but for now it will cover Windows, so I have a kind of conditional compiling plan. Like if you are using Unix, using kind of these libraries. If you are going to use Windows, you're gonna use Service Manager, because we're going to use Service Manager as a way to install a kind of daemon application. Uh, the desired application, it's depending on FP HTTP app, and there is a kind of we need an FP HTTP server, we need an FP web file to designing a kind of index page or something that you mean deceive others that this is like a very safe application. We need FP JSON to parse the content using the other module, and the Daemon app, which is we need it also for backgrounding the process. And I think we need to add another thing to the project inspector called Daemon. Yes, I think this is part of Pascal, and we click save, and then rootkits already. Yeah, it's project one. Okay. So this is the users class. The other thing that we need to identify is, because when you are going to build something in Daemon application, it's not, you have to embed that HTTP service to that service. So you can't just like add a simple block like begin and execute. You have to identify a type class of every kind of component that you want to add. So the first thing that we have to identify is the HTTP application. We can verify that it's really working into this unit. I will reply to the old chats just like after finishing the building, the first build. But I think no, you can't. The server is, if you are able to do that through Python, like porting that executable and using Daemon application, you can do that. But I don't think so Python that powerful to deal with executable. It's a scripting language. It's not that powerful for malware development, to be fair. It's good for exploits and this stuff, but for malware development, it's nothing. Uh, so yeah, the other thing that we need to do is identifying a class for Daemon application, and the other one for the Daemon thread. Why? The Daemon application class, it will have the run and terminate, which is will run your application, and thread will specifically run your function inside the thread. So that's how you handle running an application like embedded thing inside Daemon application, or like these kind of services. So it's your chance also to learn how Windows services really works. So as you can see, the execute is we will use it to run our root function. The other Daemon class we will have to add, which is responsible for installing, communicating with the service manager, is called THTTP Daemon. You can rename it as you would like, but you have to make sure to remember that the class name should be identical to the one that you will identify later on the mapper. So because the mapper is the one who will register your Daemon application. The next step is a mapper. Yes, I think it's a mapper. As to mention, I did this before, but I'm gonna to, instead of doing that like a video, I will just show you what I'm doing exactly, so I understand how you can do that. So the mapper is he's going to register that service and make sure to forward that the information required. Without a mapper, it's just like useless. So it's really important to have a mapper. Okay, so the first thing to do is porting. Right now we identified everything that we need. Custom mapper, it's working. Custom Daemon, yeah. So everything right now, until now as a start, is ready. So first we have to start porting the first procedure, which is response. JSON response. So this one is the one responsible for sending the content response as a JSON file. So because when you send a request, you need the data from the RESTful application. So the content will be passed from the procedure input variable, dynamic one, and then the code will be 200 as a success. I think everyone is familiar with this. I think content type, yes, content type is application JSON, right? And there is content links, which is links of the data of the content, sorry, which is the data, and the final one, which is the send content, as will be sent right. So this is the first one. Doing the endpoint of that RESTful API is also pretty easy. I'm going to use the JSON object component to handle all of this shit. What's that? Stay home? I don't know. Yeah, we always staying at home. Okay, procedure. I will identify the name of the endpoint and would like to communicate. It's called system call request, and then RS stands for the T response. So G object, the JSON object. I think that's correct, right? Yeah. Pla, whatever, output string. So this will handle the output of string. So pla reg. What I'm going to do is, for example, when you communicate with a RESTful API using GET like this, right? And for example, you communicated with a local host for 80, whatever we're gonna use. And for example, I'm gonna to register this kind of endpoint, CMT, and then you wanna add a hidden parameter like whatever, an A or secret, and then you can pass your command here. That's how it is. So whatever you pass anything, it will be executed. That's what I mean, query fields, but I have to specify the values. And in my case, I'm gonna use NA, out B. Here, I'm gonna show you what we can do. Execute this into pla. So it means that the parameter you're passing after the NA, it will be executed, and I will do this function also. So it will be executed and forward the output to a kind of this string to send it later as a JSON content. So G object add, you can specify here, for example, CMD as a JSON response, and then you add the output. That's simple. And then you add the JSON response, procedure that we crafted before, and here we add the res, which is the response, and the data that we passed from the procedure as object as JSON. So JSON, okay. Sorry, G object. First, something I forgot is creating G object. In the memory, JSON object create, and then you gotta try. So finally, and you free the component. Okay, I will fasten the process a little bit. So for this function, which is, as you can see, is not activated yet because it's long function to using a process unit, I will just like copy it Okay. So there is something that you have to consider. For example, for the process option, if you're using Pascal in general, you have to use p use pipe. Do not use pu pipe exit or no exit. This will hang out and make the application crash. So we're gonna use another function called system folder to identify the current system path and the CMT to pass parameter and the comment. So also you need another function which is called system folder. Like this. Yeah, cool. So right now we have finished the response and the first API endpoint handling. The next step is we continue programming the Daemon application. So we'll add a procedure for the Daemon application. This one, this block, I'll just like copy it, which is will application run, as you can see, and the application terminate. Make sure it really direct to this kind of thing, doesn't direct to anyone else, to any other units, or that's will your project will fail. That's why it's very good to identify classes, component classes. The other thing is to identify your Daemon description, display name, class name. As you can know, if you go to the services, Windows services, any service has a name and description and whatever. So you can play on this shit to make it very accurate. Like for example, if you are targeting and something and you do not take like this is backdoor, right? You can say like this is test whatever or HTTP server, anything. But in here, because it's just like research, I'm gonna use normal like this. So the service name will be like zero access b rootkit, but make sure the class name it should be identical to this one. If you didn't do that, it will not be, these kind of functions will not be accessible at all. It will fail. So only this, it will be identical to what you have identified before. The other one is called, yeah, I think it's a function. Yeah, this function. So the other one is adding a kind the server, the embedded HTTP server. So what you are going to use, first let's thank Lazarus Forum to providing kind of helpful support for this by adding so many resources to learn. So basically you have to create the HTTP application and then you specify the port that you will gonna to listen on, and then the MM type, which is you can grab it from the internet, which is contains like everybody knows what means the memory type. So I can provide that, but you can find that in GitHub. It's pretty easy. There is something I will add later, which is as I told you, you have to tell them that this is kind of simple application that has an index file, so nobody will know that this is malicious or not. and the reroute, which means that you have to redirect anyone entering your house to a kind of landing page, which is very simple landing page. As you, this is the HTTP router, which is, if you are application developer, there is routes in an application. The same thing is happening here in Pascal. So router, I got to register the route router for the API. So whenever I enter this kind of endpoint, redirect me to this kind of function that we identified before, this one, and execute everything inside it. The second, I think this is the final part. Although, yeah, the Daemon thread, it's about execute and let me tell you how. This one, which is a thread which has in the procedure execute, will run the code function of the embedded HTTP server. So the HTTP server will run inside a thread, which will be handled by a Daemon application. Daemon thread, sorry. Okay, the final part, which is registering TMI HTTP Daemon class, like how you can register that as a service and communicate it with the service manager. So I will copy the things out. Right. So the first one, which is start, it will start your thread, and that thread will run your code, the HTTP one. So it means the service, when it is start, it will actually running your HTTP server. The stop, which is stopping and terminating the thread. Install is communicating with the service manager and install your Daemon name and class. So before you do that, you have to install. So you need administration privileges to gain a persistent on the system and install your rootkit. Uninstall in case you wanted to do like a debug mode, because sometimes to avoid any kind of conflicts, you can use pass uninstall parameter to delete the service completely. The final one, which is registering a constructor of Daemon mapper with Daemon definition, description, display name that we identified before, and then finally registering the class and run it. So we'll copy that one and add it here. Let me try to see if there's any error. If we run compiling, yeah, there is a kind of buff size I didn't identify. I think its default, which is 2048. Won't be, oh yeah. Pascal is being enough to add this semicolon after every line. Yeah, cool. I think the compiling is really done. So I think we can test now. Yeah, but there's something that we have to identify. Reina, Joy, Tapia, sorry, but I didn't understand what you mean by start a thread running to server and communicating threat. You mean the idea? Yes, it's like running embedded RESTful API and like seeing this as a background process. But let me first do something. Hold on. Yeah, I have to copy the Mimi content. Mimi type, sorry. Yeah, so I have to copy it from my drive and put it inside the same folder. And then I have to run a RESTful client. I will use Impacto RESTful. Yes. I will show you how we can do that. Just give me some seconds. So, here we go. Yeah, there is route we have to identify with another procedure that is, sorry, that's not identified here, reroute route, and the register file location procedure. So let me quickly craft this. Let the virus make it neat. Okay. Reroute a request, which is the request, and a response, the response. It's the same way. It's how is it simple that really packages shipped with Pascal. It's very here the code we're gonna use this one for redirection, and we're gonna set custom header as location, and then file location. But we have to identify this, and then slash index.html, and then finally send the content. Shit. Okay. File location. Let me identify that here. Okay, this is the reroute. Is there anything missing? Okay, maybe type I have add this one, register file location as identified. Okay, here we go, save and then build. File location, yeah, shit. Here we go. Let me run the CMT, yeah. and I have to add another Windows capture display window capture. I'll just like give me 1 minute. Okay. Okay, here's our project, the txt. So in the same way, I will run the process hacker to see the services. So we identified as a 0 SSP, right? So basically, if we run that project like project install, let me show you the comment so you will not be like this, and hit enter, we can see that the service is up and running. And if you click it, you can see that there is path with run, which is will run the malicious one, the malicious the background process as a thread. So right now, if we navigate to the browser, like localhost, there is something happening here. As you can see, there is like something not found. Maybe there is bad in routing. I will review the code right now to fix that one. So public HTML is fine. Okay. Maybe there is something bad in the application definition. Oh, yeah. Let me see. Maybe there is something wrong with could be that space. I'm not sure. What is? I think reroute is fine. Let me review here. So register route and file location, which is public HTML, and let me type oh yeah, there is something I have to pass a kind. Yeah, that's it. So you have to that because we have a location like 0 access P, as you can see here. I have added hey Alexander, how you doing? Good that you here. So as you can see right now, it's when you access the server, you see that it's very safe, right? And that's no one will actually detect that this is a kind of rootkit. So if we go to the RESTful API client, let me show it to you. And for example, pass a kind of who am I to this endpoint that we already programmed before with this following parameter and send content. It actually got a response, and you can see the response here is disclose the system. As you can see, the level is net authority system, right? So basically, we successfully crafted a malicious uh, RESTful application that's running as the highest level in the system. You can execute other commands like there, which is you can access the system, or you can pass any command as a CMT. Yeah, thank you, Alexander. Miss you too, man. So this is actually the first part of it. We successfully have a malicious RESTful API running over port 8000, and you can board that, promise to port it to any operating system. Then you can do wherever you want, like get a permanent access to any system you would like with this kind of technique. So hopefully you enjoyed, guys. If there is any other question, you can pass it to the chat box and I will answer that. And make sure to navigate to the research paper at zeroaccessb.com and see the correct step if in case that you missed this kind of live, because I don't see big numbers, just like a very small number, but it's fine. If I get a support for this, I will continue doing the other things. If not, I will stop on this research for Windows and I will focus on other stuff. So feel free to ask any question in case that you have before closing this live stream. Uh, hey Iris. This is not a vulnerability, this is a kind of a threat. So actually detection against rootkit is by installing a good antivirus, but there are so many dozen techniques to bypass antivirus if you're providing something new. So for example, this one, what I did, I already have an antivirus and everything, is just like watching what is happening. But as I confirm to you, rootkit cannot be dangerous if the attacker doesn't have an administration access to your computer. So make sure that your administration password is good enough that makes the attacker doesn't escalate to administration easily, and then the rest will be fine. I think for now, quick solution: updating your antivirus. Make sure that do like quick lookup for kind of services, what's installed services. I will advise you to have a process hacker to navigate if a kind of new installed services. Uh, I will share with you detailed how it can be detected, but you need an advanced solution, advanced antivirus solution that can detect this shit. Um, I will suggest you like Symantec, which is very good in this MalwarePyth. I think this one can detect if there's any kind of service will be running on your system, but everything can be bypassed, right? If you providing a kind of technique which is new, how can they know it? But there is another way to detect is heuristic or behavioral analysis. If you have a kind of endpoint protection, not just like home a license of antivirus, it can detect it because he will detect if there is any new installed services which it doesn't have a kind of thing. Yes, I can do that, Alexander, but you can give me some time after I finish the old research paper for the old system. So then I can add a Sigma rule for it and provide a IOC at the end of research. But right now, I'm just like sharing some steps. I will not share the full code right now, but I will cover the detection level of this one before sharing anything. So yes, I will cover both rule for the EDR also. I think I have carbon black, but carbon black is not good for this. I think I will reach you, Alexander, privately later to see um, how we can cooperate on this shit. So no worries. Okay, thank you guys. Thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe or whatever. That's up to you if you like this content or not. And make sure to bookmark